so a lot of you have been asking for a pregnancy update, and I really wanted to do the nursery reveal this week, but it's just not quite ready. Hopefully in a couple weeks. But I thought I would just give you guys a general update on how I'm doing this pregnancy.
I'm Meg, and I'm passionate about finding ways to make life with kids easier in the kitchen.
So emotionally, I'm starting to get a little bit freaked out. I feel like, I grew up in a family of 4, and so I had a younger brother, and I knew what to expect when I was expecting Brooks because it was very similar family dynamics. And this time with 3 kids, just really don't know what to expect, and don't have a lot of friends with 3 kids, so I'm definitely getting a little bit nervous about that because it's just around the corner. And physically, I'm definitely starting to get really tired, not the kind of tired where you want to fall asleep all the time, but just I walk up the stairs, I'm extremely out of breath, I feel very pathetic. My back has been really bothering me to the point where I can barely walk by the end of the day, so that's kind of been a bummer. And I just started my non-stress test this week.
So I'm back for another non-stress test. I'm all hooked up and just hoping not to be admitted this time.
Just to give you guys a little bit of background about why I'm doing non-stress tests, I thought I would talk a little bit about my labor and delivery with Avery and Brooks. So my pregnancy with Avery was pretty kind of uneventful. The only issue is that I have a blood clotting disorder. So when I'm pregnant, I need to give myself a shot of blood thinner every day. And because of that, I'm induced, because if I were to go into labor while I was on the blood thinner, it wouldn't be very good for a couple reasons. The first is that I couldn't get an epidural, which I'm a huge fan of. And the second is that if I had to have an emergency cesarean section, it would be really dangerous because my body wouldn't have the ability to clot because I was on the blood thinner. So a couple weeks before my due date, they generally take me off the blood thinner and induce me. My labor with Avery was really long. I think it was about 30 hours, and I pushed for 3 hours, which was exhausting. But the bigger issue was that in the middle of my labor, I had a placental abruption. So there was a lot of bleeding, and at the time I wasn't really sure what was going on, and it was really scary, but I was in the hospital. They were monitoring Avery, and her heartbeat was really good, so I wasn't too concerned because I feel like I had a lot of support around me. And she was born and it was fine. The only kind of repercussion of that is that when I was pregnant with Brooks, I had to start having non-stress tests at about 32, 33 weeks, just to make sure that there was no more placental abruption in this pregnancy, and also because of my blood clotting disorder. So the first non-stress test I went into, the nurses came in pretty much right away and say, well, how painful are your contractions? And I had no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, what contractions? What are you talking about? They said, you are having really regular contractions, and we're gonna have to admit you. So of course I called Alan, and fortunately he works just around the corner from the hospital, so he comes right over, and they actually admitted me for 4 days. I was in the hospital because they couldn't stop the contractions. The NICU doctor came and talked to us, which was really just like a kind of surreal experience, and made me obviously really worried. At 33 weeks, he was already 6.5 pounds, so they said that if he was to be born right then, he would probably be okay. Maybe he wouldn't face some of the same challenges as a smaller baby, so that was very reassuring. But I didn't actually deliver him then. I was in the hospital for 4 days. My brother flew down to kind of hang out with me in the hospital so Alan could be at home with Avery taking care of her. And then after I got out of the hospital, I had to be on bed rest for about 4 weeks. So my mom, God bless her, flew in to take care of us, and it was like a really difficult time for us. I was obviously very cranky, being on bed rest, just not being able to do all the things I would want to do, like decorate the nursery and take Avery to do all those last minute, she's an only child type of things. And for Avery, it was really difficult because I wasn't able to do those things for her. I couldn't give her a bath, I couldn't pick her up, I could kind of only snuggle her on the couch. And she reacted, and she kind of rejected my mom, and she was just saying no Mimi, she didn't want her to do anything, which I could just tell was really, really hard on my mom. And I'm so thankful that she was able to be there for us and has forgiven me and Avery for being cranky during that time. But we made it through the 4 weeks, and in the scheme of things, it really wasn't that long or that bad. I know really close friends of mine who have been on bed rest in the hospital, bed rest upside down, just way worse. So I know it wasn't that bad, just seemed really bad at the time. And then I was off bed rest for a week, and then they induced me at 38 weeks, had to kick him out. And my labor was, a little bit easier with Brooks. It was shorter. I pushed for probably only 5 minutes, and I had another placental abruption, but it was really minor. I didn't even know it at the time. But that's kind of why I'm starting my non-stress test this week. So like I said, I passed my first non-stress test this week, yay! And I don't know why they call it a non-stress test because mom is extremely stressed. I know it's about the baby, but I'm really stressed every time I go in there. But right now I'm focused on getting the kids ready. Avery's just really excited. She's practicing diapering and bottle feeding and all that stuff. So I'm not worried about her as much. But Brooks I think thinks he should be excited. So he says he's, you know, good with it, but I'm going to start reading him some books and just prepping him in general. I'm starting to look for a car that can have all 3 car seats in it at once. There aren't that many of those. So I will meet this little guy in a few weeks, but I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching, guys.